Tribalism, definition one: tribal organization, culture, loyalty, etc. Definition two: a strong sense of identifying with and being loyal to one's tribe, group, etc. I first encountered this word in an article that I read on it's either Facebook or Parler, um, relating to what's happening in our country and how people are being divided. Um, the left wants to put us in groups, keep us in groups, um, treat us as victims because we are a part of a certain group of people, such as, oh, African Americans are victims. They're victims because their ancestors were slaves and they can't get out of that uh, racism that was set up through slavery, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Um, Hispanic Americans and whatever Americans, they just want to classify you into that group and basically make it define who you are. It doesn't. My blackness does not define my character. My being a woman doesn't define my character. All right. I'm going to keep going on the tribalism. Um, this is a ploy of the enemy, and when I talk about enemy, I'm not just talking about um, the powers and principalities that we can see. I'm talking about the powers and principalities that we don't see. Satan. All right, the enemy. That's the enemy. That's the true enemy that's at work here. His time is short. He knows. His time is short. By the way, read it in the book. God wins. Um, Anyways, back to tribalism. Um, a kingdom divided falls. It's easier to defeat a people when they are divided. Now, I'm going to cite several examples of tribalism and how the tribes got defeated. I'm going to start here in our good old US of A and Native Americans. There was a PBS series a number of years ago, I believe it was called 500 Tribes. With that many tribes across how many square miles of land? Where they couldn't unite to fight the expansion, the westward expansion. And as they expanded further west, further west, further west. And it was relatively, well, not totally easy, but it was easier to defeat the Indians because they couldn't unite. That's one example. Other example, South Africa. When the Dutch colonized that area of Africa, again, you had tribes, African tribes, that could not unite to defeat this enemy. And because of that, they ended up under apartheid, which ended in the, I believe it was late 80s. So those are two examples where you have groups of people, tribes, in a land where people want to colonize, take over, and it was easier for them to take over because those two separate tribes could not unite to defeat the enemy or keep the enemy back. My final example is Israel. Now, if you know anything about the history of Israel, Abraham fathered Isaac, who fathered Jacob and Esau. And Jacob was the one who fathered the 12 patriarchs or the 12 tribes of Judah. I mean, the 12 tribes of Israel. I say Judah because Judah ended up being one of the kingdoms during the kingdom years, which is actually where I'm heading right now. But the thing about Israel, you had these 12 brothers, and their families expanded, and they became the 12 tribes of Israel, for those of you who may not know. this is an example. One, you have familial tribes. They, the, the origins of the 12 tribes come from the 12 sons of Jacob. So that's their common link was Jacob. Um, and when the enemy would come against them, those 12 tribes, would unite to defeat the enemy. Now, later on in the kingdom years, the nation split. You had this was after the reign of Solomon. You had two tribes, Judah and Benjamin, become the kingdom of Judah, and then the remaining 10 tribes became the kingdom of Israel. And every now and then they would even war against each other. But the kingdom never reunited after that. They stayed divided. So America, first and foremost, we're not defined by our skin color to be an American. We're not defined by our sexual orientation to be an American. We're not defined by our political affiliation. What defines us and unites us as Americans is living in this country called the United States of America. And that first word is what we need to do. We need to unite before the enemy comes in and completely destroys this country.